Here we go. All right, welcome to the latest edition of Ragic Office Hour. And let's get started by looking at some recap of our latest features. So the latest latest update that we're looking at is the conditions and actions for the conditional formatting. And when conditional formatting was introduced like years ago, and it didn't support a lot of all the items that you would like to conditionally format according to the status of your data. And over the years, we have added quite a few changes to the conditional formatting, and it's now supporting more and more different types of conditions and actions that correspond to the different conditions. So we'll be looking at what kind of new conditions that you can add to make your formatting of your sheet design more dynamic. So basically, when you're looking at a conditional formatting, you are choosing a field, and you say that, if this field equals to, or contains, or does not contain, or like begins or ends with. This is for a free text field. So for a free text field, you could enter that certain condition about a free text field, and you can use and or and add another field. For example, if it's a selection field, then you can say, is or is not a certain selection. So you can have and or together different conditions to decide whether to execute this conditional formatting. So there are a lot of formattings that you can choose for each conditional formatting rules. So you can add multiple rules to multiple actions to one rule. And the most often used is to show and hide fields or show and hide descriptions. By descriptions, we're referring to these items like personal information. These are all just form design artistic elements, static elements of the form, and we will be able to show and hide descriptions, show and hide field values, and these are and show some messages, and you will be able to change the background of the label or the label text color or the background color of the text of the value or the color of the value, the color of the value. Okay, I think when the conditional formatting was just introduced, it only supported like the top these settings, and in the first version, I'm not even sure they have like and or. So these are multiple actions, and these are things that we slowly begin to add more and more support to the conditional formatting, since we know that this is kind of a popular feature, and a lot of people use this on a regular basis to make their form more easily accessible for all of their users. So yeah, and we begin to add more and more support for the conditional formatting, since a lot of people use this a lot and have a lot of suggestions. So we added, and then we begin to add like show and hide action buttons. So you will be able to show and hide certain action buttons only if the rule matches. Like you only allowed maybe a maternity leave button only if the gender is female. So something like that. You can have more conditional formatting rules to make that you only show the action buttons that applies to the current data entry or the data values. Okay, and then we supported like read only. This is also quite important. So we then added the support for read-only. So some fields will be not editable when it's under certain situations, and certain fields will only be editable under certain situations. For example, if the application date is after a deadline, you might make some of the fields not editable, read-only, so you cannot change like certain like a course selection for a course selection application. So you might want to make them read-only after a certain deadline, and not empty. You can also set not empty to conditional formatting, so that some fields has to be filled out when a certain condition is met. So like if you clicked other, and you must enter a reason for other reasons. So these are also pretty common in form entries. And also, I forgot these two. These two are actually the latest additions, so that you can show and hide a whole section based on different conditional formattings. So by sections, I'm referring to these kind of sections. So you can add sections like this. So if I want the job information to be a section, I could just like click here and create a section. So this could be job information. And I can add another section for emergency contact, like this. Create section. I say emergency. Okay. And this could be pretty handy to manage when your sheet is very large and has lots of fields. And if you go to conditional formatting, you will be able to like show and hide a whole section. Like you can hide the section, like hide the emergency section, or for some other reasons that you might have when you're designing your conditional formatting, when you're designing your sheet. Okay, and lastly, we also have given you the ability to show or decide if you want to show or hide the start approval button, and according to certain field configurations. So that you might have some field values there, and you don't want the users to ever run approval on that. So you will be able to like sort of like disabling the approval process. This is the approval process. You can kind of disable the ability for users to start the ability process if a certain conditions or field values on the form is met. Okay, and this is a quick recap of our conditional formatting feature. Conditional formatting has been around for a long time, but we are in the process of. Would it be possible to export reports to CSV or Excel, particularly useful for grouped report? Although listing pages, filtering, and export to Excel CSV is available at record screens, ability to export data from report other than just printer friendly would be very useful. From a technical point of view, for now, it feels like for me that this will require a complete re-implementation of the grouping report, but yeah, I can see that this could be useful in certain cases. So I will discuss this with our developer and see if we can create a Excel export version for the grouping report. But I would doubt that it would be very useful to create a CSV version, because a CSV version, generally it's more for a singular tabular formatting for your data, but for multiple tables like the grouping report, it could be a little bit weird when it's actually formatted this way. So I will focus on if we can support the Excel output version for the grouping report. report for Excel output for our grouping report. Okay, and just so you know, before this is supported, you can actually just select all with the grouping report and then copy paste into Excel. That would basically work like how you would expect the Excel output to work. It's not ideal, I know, but it will be a workaround if you need a solution like that to do something more in the Excel format. Oh, and also I think we've also added something for you to edit your report. So, okay, let's go to the grouping report. The grouping report. Let's choose group by status. Report. Save as new report. I don't think it's online yet. The new feature I was referring to. I will talk about this feature when it's online. It should be very useful. We will be adding a feature for users to edit the report that's generated before you like download it. You will be able to edit this report. Okay. Okay, next question. Approval process supports action buttons on approval only, not the same for rejection. Approval process support action button on approval only, not the same for rejection. Okay. If an approval process results in rejection, it can't currently support auto run or an action button requiring JavaScript to take on this task. Would it be possible to allow rejected status of an approval, the ability to auto run an action button, as is the case currently only with approved status? Okay, so you're referring to when you have a approval and you will automatically execute these buttons after completing approval. So you would like something to be an action button to automatically execute it after rejection. I think this is what you mean. Possible to allow rejected status of an approval, ability to auto run an action button, as is the case currently only with approved status. Okay, so you want this to add a section where we can auto run after completing rejection. Okay, that makes sense. There might be something that needs to be done to the data automatically after rejection. Although normal to update values only when approved after approval, it is sometimes useful to anticipate approval and update values, which needs to be reversed if rejected, hence the need for a reject action to reverse the values. Okay, that makes sense. And yeah, it's not currently supported yet, but this could certainly be something that we can add to the approval functions. changes. Okay, thank you for your suggestion. Next question. Update values on another sheet allows conditions, whilst update value on the same sheet has no conditional functionality. Yeah, when you click on the update value on this sheet, it basically always just executes. Update values on the same sheet. Is it possible to include conditional criteria functionality that's currently in update values on another sheet? But the reason that the conditional is needed for update value on another sheet is to choose which record to edit. So when you're editing this record, there's only the choice of do the edit or not, which allows for the where stipulation to be created. This appears to be missing from the update values program. Okay, let's see the use case. This would be very useful functionality to ensure that only records meeting the defined conditional logic get their value updated. Currently, it's all records through, although a workaround with update values based on the sheet view filter is possible. Oh, so you're batch executing. You're batch executing the update values. This means having to create a new shared view and run the process on that. It's not as granular as a nested or complex field value comparison. E.g., if field 1 equals 0 and field 2 equals C and field 3 equals yes. Yeah, it sounds like you're running update value in batch, update value on this sheet, on this record in batch, right? Only records meeting the conditional logic gets there. So if you only want this action button to be displayed when a certain condition is met, you can add conditional formatting. But so that will cover the case for the use case of manually clicking on value, updating value on this sheet, manually on a certain record. You can use conditional formatting to hide that. But it sounds like you're running the update value of this sheet through a batch process. Like by batch process, we mean this batch execute. So you can execute action buttons in batch under tools like batch execute. You can do that, and you can also you can also filter first and then do the batch process, do the batch, and you will be able to only apply the filter, only apply the action button to the records that are currently filtered. So for now, I would feel like, if you're doing this in batch, you should be able to filter first or use a shared filter first to find the records that you would like to run this, update value action button, and then meet your requirements. So for now, I think our current features should be able to fulfill these requirements. So first, if your action button is executed manually for each record, you can use conditional formatting to show and hide this action button according to current field values. Okay, so this is using the recap on our conditional formatting feature. So you should be able to hide or show this action button according to the values of the record. And if you're doing batch process, if you are batch executing you're batch executing action buttons, you can first filter for the records that you would like this action button to run on, and then execute. Yeah, for now, I feels like this is a better, a more intuitive way to do that, because if you're updating a record on this sheet and you add a condition to that, it's kind of weird, because there will be times when a user execute this update value on this sheet and wonders why it doesn't execute at all. So if there's a condition to it. So I think it would, for now, I would think it would be a good idea to make this action button, the update value on this sheet, to be a bit more simple, so that each time we just click and update the value. And there are other ways for you to control if this could be executed, or which records that you should batch execute this action button on. Okay, and that's it for the office hour questions for today. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to use the office hours question sheet to ask your questions, and I will be answering your questions in 2 weeks. Thank you and goodbye.